What's up, everyone? This is Michael Slate, and you're listening to the Struggle is Really, Really Real podcast. Today, my special guest is going to be Ceasare Orlando. He is the owner of EMP Studios, Eclectric Mobile Productions, the all-around creator behind all of my content, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. Let's go. Episode number 001 of the Struggle is Really, Really Real podcast/show.
So how did you want to announce this thing? How do you want to introduce it?
I think I want to say, welcome to the Struggle is Really, Really, Really Real podcast.
Wait, now how many reels really, is that?
I think it's 4. It's the struggle is really, 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 really real. That's what feels right to me. Is 4
reelies?
4 reelies and 1 reel.
The struggle is really, 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 really real.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. You started counting with the thumb.
Yeah.
And it felt awkward because you had to end with the pinky, but that was the really. And this was, otherwise you could go like this. You could go, the struggle is really, 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 really real.
How would you like to end it? Would you like to end with a thumb?
I don't know. Just whatever feels natural. I'm sure whatever feels natural for me is probably not going to feel natural for you.
I don't know.
That was pretty good.
I feel like that's shooting dice.
Dude, let's shoot some dice.
I don't have dice. I have cards.
This we are shooting universal dice right here.
Universal dice right here. Okay.
Yeah, we're just rolling them out. So, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being the show.
Hey, so it's really cool being on and the set of the really, 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 really real podcast. Wait, I think that was right.
You nailed it.
Okay, cool.
Because it feels right when you don't even have to think about it. You're just gonna say the right amount of realies every single time.
We have to create a jingle for it.
Can we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the whole.
Yes. I know, I love that.
How it's always about the audio tags now.
If I tell someone that gets me excited, they look at me stranger than they typically look at me.
If you tell somebody about an audio little tag, and then
audio tags,
they're like, what do you mean?
Like, what do you mean? And then I play it for them or show them an example. They're like,
yeah. Well, if you think about it, all the broadcasting companies, NBC, they all have their own and jingles. That was the thing back in the day.
So we need our own riff.
Yeah, we need a riff, a lick.
Okay, I like it.
We'll have to come up with something.
I like it. A really, really, really real lick. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
There.
We'll get it. So we'll get audio, sound effects. Welcome to.
Yeah, Nick will have to do more than play video games.
The really, 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 really real podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you thinking a rock vibe?
No, I'm thinking more more something short and simple. And I just love a good bass beat. Nothing beats something that carries through the audio of your speakers. Yeah. When you're okay, now you have my attention. You just vibrated something in my soul. And then you just cut to content.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the purpose of...
Yeah, why are we here right now? What is this?
Well, this is my new podcast. Mm-hmm. So we did the Palm Springs live stream together.
Yes, that was great.
We knocked out 12 episodes. We teased season 2, which I never got around to. We teased the hell out of season 2, which I never got around to. And then I kind of I haven't lost interest in it. I still want to roll that out because it's a floating season like Netflix. They can wait 5 years and roll out a season 2 if they want to. So the rules have changed.
Oh, it's great. You can do whatever you want.
That's the beauty of it. That's the rule, is you can do whatever you want. And if people don't like it, they're allowed to tune out.
Yeah. The best thing about that, though, I think, too, is while you can do whatever you want, most of the time people will do 1 or 2 things, and then they won't necessarily see the results that they are expecting, and then they'll stop.
Right.
Which is the easiest way for you never to get anywhere, because you just have to constantly put out. How many times have we been... how many years now has it been since we've first started putting out content, and then with just little videos here and there, and then that traction, not everyone's doing that.
It takes time, and then the consistency is what's key. And then I think my biggest challenge is forgiving myself when I'm not consistent, when I get consistent with business or with deals or with whatever,
family, life,
family, just yeah,
it happens.
So season 2, I would still like to do of the Palm Springs live stream. Mm-hmm. What I liked the most about that show was it it forged so many new relationships for me in the community that I now consider like solid friends.
Yes.
You know, where it just bridged me into, like, I don't even realize how it changed the interweavings of my life. Like, and the whole goal was to just bring value to the community and to connect people who wouldn't know about one product or service to another person who was there to provide that service, you know, with ease and joy. So, how are we doing on sound volumes?
We're good.
Okay, cool.
So for this this show, if you're watching, you get the added benefit of getting to see this guy's face on the regular.
It's shiny and red. Yeah.
That's just a little bit of the cast from the from the back wall.
That's it. It's rosé.
If you're listening in, so this podcast is being produced at my studio at EMP Studios in Rancho Mirage,
Which is very nice, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is fun. This is like the 2.0 iteration of EMP Studios. I had my studio in Palm Springs for a little over a year and a half-ish. And, we did some things there, did a lot of photo shoots and other things like that.
You did a lot of editing of my real estate videos there.
So much editing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. But it's nice to be in a different space, have different things to tackle, build out a new set, lighting, all the production stuff. It's really cool to have just a dedicated space to have it set up. So if at any point somebody wants to come in and just record something real quick, it's a very transformable situation now, which I like a lot better.
You can just put other stuff on the table and you're good to
Absolutely.
go.
Or different orientations. This can go sideways. I need to stop hitting that though. This can go sideways and I can shoot this way or from one side in different directions. If I want to do tutorials, I can have an overhead camera, and so it's going to serve a lot of purposes, and I'm really excited that that this podcast, the really, 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 really real podcast, is the first thing that is being produced here. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, same here. What should we go into, like, what the really, really, really real?
Yeah, I think people would like to know what this is actually about.
Well, I think that I would like to lend to the community, whatever the collective community is, some strength and some support. And I think the only way to lend someone strength and support is to truly, like, first be vulnerable. And I think the neat thing about podcasts is people don't feel vulnerable in these situations. They feel just more open to the abundance of the moment, and it makes it easier to remove the filters that come from meeting in a coffee shop, where you're like you're worried about your environment, or you're worried about saying the right thing, or blueberry crumbs on your chin. It kind of gets people in a frame of mind like, hey, I'm going to go talk about what I've accomplished, and it helps validate to themselves first and foremost that someone reaches out and says, I have accomplished some things, I have built a little business, and the struggle is real, and I think I do have some value I can bring through making it this far, even though when you wake up in the mirror oftentimes you're just like, you're failing at everything, and that's not the point of this show. The point is to kind of help people see that they've actuated some energy in their world that's changed it, and identify and place with that, and then just talk about goals and that the magnetism of that goal, and how people sift through what separates them as they pull their way toward that goal. And life is a constant state of arrival and departure, so it's just good to touch base on that and try to share that energy, I think, with the public.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know that there are so many people, just from the interviews that we've done, with the live stream and with other things, that the community itself in the Coachella Valley is so full of so many people that have so much to offer as far as their advice, the things that they've gone through, the struggles that they've overcome, that it's going to be just like episode after episode, just slam packed of so much value, and it's going to be able to relate to a lot of different people, which I kind of think is one of the important things. Is you hear a lot of people talking about knowing your audience. Right. Well, with this and with the different people that you're able to bring into and you're going to be talking with, you're going to be able to reach a very diverse audience, because somebody's going to be able to find something with each unique individual situation, whether it's their occupation, whether it was the job that they had before they started chasing their side hustle or their dream. Like, it's going to speak to somebody of a different background, whether it's ethnic, whether it's financial upbringing. Like, there are going to be a lot of people who can benefit from listening to this podcast, from watching it. But first, I think we really should kind of like talk about you.
Me?
Yeah, give an introduction in case nobody's not ever like witnessed or seen you or knows who you are or seen you online and killing your real estate game. Like let the people know who they're getting to hear.
I have to think about who I am.
Who is the host of this podcast?
My name is Michael Slate, and I'm a Coachella Valley real estate agent. I primarily specialize in Palm Springs, but I kind of will sell anywhere, especially if the person's awesome. Like I'll drive to freaking Talavera every single day to help you buy that dream home. It's whatever the moment calls me to do when it comes to real estate, and I love it because of the exposure to, people are here in the valley not because they have to be, they're here because they oftentimes want to be, because
Sure.
they're have lives, they're well traveled, well versed, and they're here by choice. They're here to kind of settle into the desert lifestyle, which is a mode for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I started in the business because I was sick of serving. I was in the service industry, which I love. I think that there's no higher calling than be of service. To me, serving in a restaurant and working in real estate are very similar. Would you like another drink? Would you like a hot tub with that? They're very similar to me in the service industry approach, and the customer's always right, and good attitude wins at the end of every single day. And for me, I just wasn't able to provide for my family in the way that I wanted to, and there's a certain level of disrespect that I felt was underlying in my industry. And I didn't like it. It didn't just bring me consistent joy. And for me, like, I started looking around for something to shift into, and it presented itself almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And I just went for it. So I signed up for my classes. I passed my test for the real estate and dove right into a team. I went where I was directed and worked there until my heart just started to take over and tell me where to be guided to next. Yeah.
What was the first house you ever sold? Do you remember when it was? How long it was?
It was the owner of Trio Restaurants condo, and I didn't even have it on the market yet. And I was there kind of checking it out, and I saw this agent showing property in the condo, and I didn't know any better, so I ran to her. I was like, look, I have this house, and it's coming on the market, and you should check it out. And she showed it to the guy, and it wasn't right for that buyer, but she called me no less than 24 hours later, because I sent her a link to the Airbnb account, let her know it's coming on. She's like, I've got a buyer for this. It's perfect for them. And we did the deal negative 10 days on market. So I was the talk of the team.
That's a great way to kind of like start the career off. Be like, hey, so how's it going so far? Great. Sold a house. Haven't listed it yet.
Yeah. And then negative 10 days on the market was the joke
fantastic.
In the office, and it was good. It was the little ego Band-Aid I needed.
Oh yeah.
To cover like the vulnerability and how I felt. And we haven't worked together since our last video, and I think the last video was on Duro, and I was so burned out on real estate videos and just my place in them and how to approach them and how to continue to spin them and be fresh. And the summer was starting to kick in, and the summer always kind of, man, it dries up anything that shouldn't be alive and just blows it away. And it's what you're left with is like the core essence of whatever that is. That's got actual root in your life. And that's what I love about life in the desert is there's this kind of settling process. So, it's been a minute since we've worked together.
Yeah. I mean, you did a lot of traveling.
Yeah. Well, there's that. But I was here working. I have some boots on the ground.
Yeah, it helps.
I was putting in some time here.
Oh, definitely.
Trying to get.
That's the beautiful thing about building and growing a team is that's why you have a team.
That is true.
That you can leverage, and that people have specific roles, that they're things that they excel at, that they're great at, and when you're able to see that in people and also like shine a spotlight on them for it, you allocate the right things to them, and it's going to be great. So
yeah, that's kind of the cool thing is I have been able to birth a team out of this. I realized that I didn't like paperwork almost immediately. I realized it was taking up bandwidth that I could use to be reaching out to clients for the next sale and the next connection, and it just didn't bring me joy like being out there on the streets did, pounding the pavement, as I like to say, running into running to people I met at open houses, making calls, and just vibrating on that level where I'm just attracting clients to me.
Yeah.
And so I ended up bringing on Kathy onto the team, and it's been incredible just to have that kind of admin support, and then just kind of growing from there. It's been a good thing. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm happy to be able to be fluid, and I do have a hard time stopping and recognizing that these are major accomplishments. I mean, there was a time in my life where I literally had nothing,
Yeah.
and I take myself back to that place on a regular basis, and I used to take myself there out of fear, like it was like, you're going back there for sure no matter what. And now it's like I just use it as a reminder to each and every new jumping off point. It's like, listen, you went from here to here, so going from here to here where you want to be next is gonna happen. It's just a matter of lending yourself the ease while the time passes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's true.
So let's talk about you.
Okay.
All right. You were here building EMP Studios, and then you took a trip yourself.
Yeah, I recently went to Hawaii. I had a gig out there.
Okay.
I was filming for a school that was launching, so they wanted to get a lot of photos and promotional videos put together. So I was excited because I had never been to Hawaii before, and going to Maui has been always one of my top things that I've wanted to do. I've wanted to surf.
How long's the flight to Maui?
Direct, nonstop, 5 hour.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, did Hawaiian Airlines. It was great.
Why aren't more people going to Hawaii? Why aren't I going to Hawaii? It's right there. Is it expensive?
Yeah.
How much was the flight?
I got the flight about 4 or 5 days before needing to go. So
$1,100.
It was like $780 something.
That's not bad. Business class? Did you do the business class upgrade?
No, I think that was like 1,800, 2,000, something like that.
You're like, I'll stay where I'm at. Thank you.
Yeah, I got economy. We're good.
You're in a little seat like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you get the armrest? That's cool. Don't worry. That's fine. I'll take this one. No. Okay. All right. I'm right here.
Yep. Nope. Elbows in. I'm gonna nap. Cross my arms over like a vampire. No, it was great. The flight went by real quick. You know, I watched Aquaman on the way over. Great movie to watch on the way to Hawaii.
I saw that on a plane as well.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And my younger sister actually lives there with her husband and 2 kids.
Oh, she has a husband?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
and kids?
And kids,
She sounded so carefree.
She is.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, it's great because that's like, when I think about it, being a kid at that age right now, like 6 and 4, they're just like the best place to be is frolic around as little boys running around like, you know, the jungle of Hawaii. It's so cool for them. So I was really excited. And it being my first time, I was hoping that I wasn't going to get kind of distracted by like the vacation-y stuff.
Okay.
But I ended up working the entire time.
Which feels good.
Which felt great because
you're working in a new environment. You're like,
exactly. I felt invigorated. It felt like it was like for the first time, like coming home to somewhere that I had never been before, which was really, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a good time.
And then what happened?
Well, I was going to move out there.
Uh-huh.
I had this job position lined up with the school, actually, and that ended up falling through while I was out there.
Oh.
So I was out there shooting the video.
They're like, you don't get the job.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. So the plans to move out there got basically postponed or canceled in that sense, but I kind of like made the decision.
Desire's still there?
Yeah, that's definitely where I want to be.
I'm moving to Bali.
Man.
I'm just kidding.
That's one of those places. That's on the list too.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see that.
Yeah. But I mean, that's how much of an impact travel has on you, I think, is that you're like, things are changing from here on out.
Yeah.
Like, you travel and you're just like, okay, I'm done. Some stuff just naturally falls away and your perspective shifts.
For the last decade, I've had about 1.5 year to 2 year pattern of being in a certain location, living lifestyle circumstance, and then I'll make a drastic change. I constantly want to grow and evolve and become a better version of me. So I uproot myself, get myself in a new environment, so I'm constantly learning and growing. And for the previous almost 1.5 years, I was in Palm Springs. Prior to that, I was in Simi Valley. And I've just been bouncing around Southern California. I spent a couple months in Italy, which was, again, one of those amazing, eye-opening things. Didn't necessarily shake me to the point of wanting to live there, full time. But I definitely wouldn't mind later in life, like having
Going back.
having a little place in the countryside of like Sicily there. I think that would be
it's
amazing.
affordable.
Yeah, it is very much so.
Yeah.
So it's in the realm. It's in the very long term plan. But so the goal now is to continue to get the gear and everything situated out here in Rancho Mirage. That way we can have the home base studio, and then move to Maui. I want to say as soon as possible. It would be amazing if I could do it before 2020, like in December. But that is when like pricing is highest because it's vacation period.
That makes sense.
So I might push it back into January.
And you'll probably be the busiest here making money for
Yeah.
that plan.
Well, that's also the hard part too, is because like I know the things that I personally do myself.
Last year.
It was a good year. It was a good season. Last year.
You worked hard to gain a lot of momentum.
Yes.
To that, I mean, most guests, I won't have the benefit of this level of familiarity.
Sure.
But when we met, you were coming back from a little disenchanted from LA.
Yeah. Oh,
and,
big time.
like, responded to, I had posted a Craigslist ad for doing this very thing, which we didn't end up doing. We did a totally different show. But I posted for something just what we're doing here, and I think you responded like 2 weeks later, which is perfect for my time vortex because that's right around when I get to things. Is like, okay, we're gonna put it out there, and then okay, everyone responded, and I kind of sat down with a couple of people, but nothing felt right. And I waited for that high flying feeling, and then for some reason I clicked on your email, and it was like I didn't even read it. It was just the feeling that I was looking for. I was like, done. So we met up after that, and you were transitioning back to the desert, which you weren't too thrilled about.
No.
As most locals that are like born and raised here try to leave, and there's just that pull of the valley that brings you right back, which I love because I feel like some people are born here and it's their inheritance to watch the valley rise up around them and to be a part of that wave.
We're going to get better at this. Like, this is the first run of how we're trying to get the whole flow of it. I didn't introduce myself at all.
Oh, yeah. Who are you?
I've been this talking person just hanging out with
This is Ceasare. This is Ceasare. He's
Ceasare
producing
Orlando.
our show.
I'll be producing the podcast, but I have a company called Eclectric Mobile Productions, or EMP for short. And it's based around content creation, photo and video content, specifically geared towards social media marketing for brands, personal brands, businesses, as well as there is an entertainment branch where I perform and I book myself and other people out as musicians, bands, DJs, circus, aerial performance acts, like all kinds of stuff, dancers.
I like that one a lot.
We do all kinds of stuff. So go inside is like event production, and where we kind of dabble in lots of things. But this podcast has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Something about that Craigslist ad. It's just a habit of mine, actually, just to like open specific ones for a while and just like look at them as tabs in my browser.
And leave them open?
Leave them open for like a week. I won't close my internet, and there'll just be a bunch of Craigslist tabs open, and then I'll go back to one and finally send an email. And then that's what happened. I sent the email, pitched the live stream, and it worked.
It worked.
It worked. We ended up putting together something that was really cool, and just got the ball rolling with ideas and the creative flow of the things that you wanted to do in the desert combined with the stuff that I was planning on doing, and it's been a team up of epic proportions so far. Yeah. And I can definitely see a Marvel movie being made out of it at some point.
Some point, for sure. Yeah. I'll be Man.
Man?
Yeah, twice the strength of a normal man.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Not really. Stole that off of Reddit.
Okay. Gotta love Reddit, man.
Gotta love Reddit.
I never go on Reddit.
No?
No, I only see what people post on Facebook of
Reddit.
It's
endless. Like, on a Sunday afternoon, just, like, go down, like, a nice... And you, of course, what's in your feed, you put there. So I put, like, stuff that's funny or compelling in there, so... I don't know what's in other people's Reddit feeds. It could be scary.
I'm sure. Yeah. Because that's the unfiltered internet at that point. You can put anything on there.
It's the best. It's the absolute best. Big fan. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, talk to me about, since the show's called The Struggle is Really, Really, Really Real, talk to me about your struggle getting to here, which obviously is an incredible place. what's life been like for you? Am I right to feel like the struggle has been coming back and starting EMP? Was the struggle before you went to LA? Just talk to me about your process in life from, the point of like the first dream.
Man. Whew, that goes it goes so deep in that aspect of when you think about the defining moments in your life that like kind of break up your life into what I guess you would say like the different eras of your life. You go through and you live multiple sections of your lives. Your adolescence is a big thing, and when you start really kind of like figuring out who you would like to be, your 20s, you're really kind of like testing the limits of...
I did a lot of who I would not like to be in my 20s.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You got to figure that out, right?
Right.
Like most people, that's when they're figuring out the things that they're going to define them. Your 30s, I feel like that's when you start to really like readjust. You've gotten some experience now in life, and now you're trying to redirect. Sometimes it means making up for mistakes that you made in the past. A lot of the times. Yeah. Sometimes it means letting things go. Sometimes it means saying sorry. Right. To the right person, to the people that you've done wrong. And we all kind of go through a lot of the same things, just in our own little veins. But if we're going to like first dream, man, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be like a just full blown like frontman performer. Okay. Whether it was in a band or if it was like a Michael Jackson or a Prince type of thing, like singing, dancing, acting, performing, entertaining was
not on the drums.
I was on the drums actually. I played the drums.
Okay, I know you can play all of it, but you saw your spot like right up front. Yeah. Like commanding the spotlight.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I would be like a one-man band who would go and like play all of the instruments, like play a different instrument for each song that was performed. I'd have a house band with me or like bandmates, but then on different instruments, like I'd move around and just, I don't know, it always seemed fun being a multi-instrumentalist and like having fun playing lots of different things. It's I like the concept of like an open jam session where I just kind of like floated around to different instruments and would perform, and then would sing and dance, do the whole frontman boy band type of thing with backup dancers and just it was a really big thing, and it's so much fun.
There was a lot of that when we were kids. That was the movement.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was when the first pop like explosion really took off, and I mean moving forward into life after doing teaching dance for years. I mean, I started teaching when I was 13. Okay.
Because your mom owned a dance studio, right?
No, not yet. We actually, my mom and I opened up the studio. It's called On Your Feet Dance Productions. It's still going. This year is its 22nd year.
Holy smokes.
Season. We started in 98. Okay. I was 13, and I was teaching hip-hop and tap.
Got it.
But prior to that, I was dancing at a studio in Palm Springs, and had been dancing for years, and when we started our own company is when I started teaching. And so doing dance, opening a studio, I've had a couple different dance teams that I've been a part of, and did a lot of partner competitions, studied and taught all of the Latin and ballroom dances. Like dance was the career that I was going with. And then, you get a little bit older and things start hurting a little bit more, and it takes a little bit longer to recover from things. So I started focusing on music again. And when I got into music, I started getting into electronic music and DJing and doing all of...
Oh, really?
Type of that branding of musician.
Okay.
Yeah, so I built that up.
Were you chopping up your own beats?
I was. Well, I started editing music actually for my dance classes, because I would have hip hop dances, and my mom's dance company is very, very family friendly.
Okay, so you couldn't be playing a lot of music that's out there.
If any of the context wouldn't be approved for like Disney, then it wasn't okay. So I had to do a lot of editing, especially for pop and hip hop music, in order to make the songs as clean as possible. Okay. And then also like make rearrangements and mashups and put songs together to make it not look like any other dance team or dance recital might have. Just kind of give it that unique of my classes and my performances. Right. So editing and stuff like that led to actual production and writing my own music, making remixes of songs, and I started doing kind of like focusing on a DJ career in 2010.
Okay,
And really
that's a good
started
time.
doing stuff out here in the mobile DJ world, like school dances, weddings, bar mitzvahs, like all kinds of gigs.
2010. Why didn't
Any
that
type
take
of
off?
event.
Why aren't you like touring and hitting Coachella?
It did a little bit.
It did?
Got there. Yeah, I've played 2 Insomniac festivals. I played at EBC
Really?
and Nocturnal Wonderland in
Okay.
2014.
Dang,
Yeah, and I've played a lot of the
I didn't
clubs
know
in
that.
LA.
Where's the tattoo to prove it, bro?
I know, right? I didn't get those for that one. But I've played a lot of the clubs in LA and a lot of the bars and clubs in Orange County as well.
Nice.
And it's just kind of always been.
That's a grind.
It is a grind.
It's a grind.
It's a late night grind.
Yeah.
With a lot of the same people in different locations.
Right, 100%.
So, after I do something for a while, I don't get bored, but
You master it.
no, not even master. I get proficient. I think
Okay.
I get to a point of proficiency where it's unless something changes in the way that I do things, unless something changes, I'll get bored.
I think it's okay to say that you get bored at
Yeah.
something. Like, even if you're crushing it and other people would love to see themselves there's nothing wrong with being like, especially if it's your heart to the universe, I'm bored with this. Like,
Yeah.
what's next? I know there's more.
Yeah.
There's more. I'm just somehow not seeing it, or I'm feeling the tug, but I don't know how to create it.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I've always had extreme variance in a lot of the things that I'm passionate about, anytime I get bored in one particular avenue of the thing that I like, I just shift to a different avenue.
Right.
So for a long time, dance was the main thing, but I still was playing music, performing, shooting photography and video. Like, all of these things were kind of going on in the background. It just wasn't the main focus. And when I was tired or injured or, just wanted to spend a little time away from dance, I'd focus more on music and DJing. And I kind of went through this cycle, and then it got to the point when where the rise of the influencer and the rise of digital content and social media started happening. And having a lot of experience in doing all of these things for building my DJ brand, I wanted to start focusing on making more content then.
Right.
Because a lot of my friends who were also involved in the music and DJ scene were, making big bounds and, were doing really big things, getting signed to big labels, going and doing big shows, supporting big headlining artists. And, I wanted to be able to give them and provide content for them that was going to, better represent their brand.
Right.
Than
Which
I
people
was seeing
didn't
stuff
always
going on.
realize in the beginning. I mean, they still
Right.
don't even realize it, like at this time, and it's in everyone's face.
Yeah. So that shift in focus kind of started getting me focused on doing a lot more content in media. I was in LA at the time. It was actually around Halloween that I got affiliated with this party that was being thrown, specifically for influencers.
Okay.
And it was called the
okay.
Halloween House Party. And I ended up working with a really close group of talented individuals, and we started building a media company together. And it was really fun. It was that startup environment, which is really
Right. That's exciting.
and
Yeah.
creative, and lots of ideas flowing and stuff like that. It didn't end up growing to what people were hoping it would grow to.
Why?
People I think. I can't even necessarily say why. It may have just been the group of people that were working together in such high energy, stressful circumstances for the first project that we worked on, that afterwards when we tried to get into a regular rhythm and flow, and
You
also
didn't know how
get
to.
assimilated into our regular lives flow as well, because when we were working on the Halloween project together, it was chaos. It was everybody was on deck 16 to 20 hours a day.
Right.
We were going for it
Right.
for a few weeks solid. And so
Counting on that to be your poster child.
yeah, it was a great event. We got ridiculous content, and we had a really good time with all the live performances and everything. But once we kind of we didn't have that insane deadline of what we were working towards, we were just trying to figure out where the guidance and the goal and the vision of what this company that we were building was going to go. We didn't really come to an agreement, or we didn't have the same vision as far as what we were wanting out of it. So because I was already I already had photo and video clients, and I had already been doing all of these things, once everybody kind of dispersed and went our separate ways, I just kept doing all the stuff that I had been doing the whole time. I just kept doing me.
Right.
I'm still going on this social media content creation thing. I know it
Right.
is what is going to end up becoming like
Everything. Right.
And it's like everybody needs it. And so many people say, like, it doesn't matter what you have, because you have the capability and the just within your pocket, you're with just your phone, you can do so much in order to create and market yourself. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's, you're a baker or you're a mechanic, like anything that is either your work or your passion, because digital content and media is accessible at your fingertips, people are going to need to market for those platforms.
Right.
So I knew that combining the knowledge of social media that I acquired over the years of building multiple music brands with friends and myself, and then helping clients along the way, it was something that I knew I needed to dedicate a lot of focus and time to. So that's kind of why I decided to come back and move back to the desert. I got a teaching job working at an elementary school in Indio when I first moved back.
I remember that.
For, I think it was like 3 months that I was doing that. And
right.
Just the time exchange for it was honestly a level of happiness. It wasn't the situation that I had anticipated or that I had kind of thought was going to be.
Right.
I imagined that it was going to be a lot of kids that, had chose to go to that class versus just an entire class of kids trying to
dodge other worse classes.
Yeah, so
got it. Those are smart kids.
They are. So, and with elementary school kids, like you never know. You never know. You can just get one kid who's just gonna stand there and give you a defiant look, and that one kid all of a sudden like other
has
kids,
control of the room.
Yeah, other kids start like testing the limits and the boundaries. And while I love teaching children, and it's been a part of my life, my entire life, at that point, knowing the things that I wanted to build with my own companies,
right.
I knew that the time sacrifice was going to be the thing that was going to like make it a yay or nay.
Right.
I decided that I was going to try it out, see how it was going to go. It was a friend of mine who had recommended the position to me, and they thought I would really like it and be great in it. And while I enjoyed the teaching side of it, I knew that it was pulling me away from another thing that I really needed to focus on and dedicate a lot more of my time to.
Yeah.
So I did. I started just working and contacting as many people.
Do you feel like it's okay to just transition, like go into something, try it out, see how it settles with you, and then look for that next thing? Do you label that good or bad, or do you feel like that's just the natural flow of life if you're an achiever?
I wouldn't label it good or bad. I think it boils more down to the person, like individually. If they know that something isn't good for them or that it's not a good fit, they don't like the culture of a company.
Right.
Like, I think it's much better for them to, like, respectfully decline or leave that position.
What if you sold your whole family on it and convinced them it was the best possible move, and then you find yourself in the middle of it and you realize, nah.
Then maybe it should have taken a little bit more foresight and looking at things from different angles ahead of time in order to come to that conclusion. I tend to look at things from a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
I like a lot of different perspectives in order to gain as much clarity as possible.
Do you spend a lot of time retrospective, or do you just briefly visit the past for
retro, intro, expo? I don't know what the future one would be. I do. Not necessarily even looking at the past. I love the saying, never look back except to see how far you've come or grown.
Okay.
But I think it's really important to look back. I think it's really important to reanalyze yourself.
Kind of have to.
From the different versions of you, like in your different stages. Like, if I look back on my 20s or if I look back on my teenage years, when I was looking back on my teenage years in my 20s, I gained different types of clarity that I'm looking back on my teenage years in my 30s.
Right. I feel like it's okay to look back. For me personally, if I wear like a cloak of gratitude, if I'm cloaked in gratitude, then that's my stance, and I can visit these places and be grateful for them, and I don't have to put that like yay or nay label on them. It's not thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't have to pass judgment on myself or that version of myself. I'm looking back, going, okay, I'm grateful for that experience. Without it, I might not be here, and then drop roots into that. Yeah. Gratitude
is very, very big. It's very important, and especially in the things that you think are like your wounds.
Right.
Like if you start looking at the things that you initially think that you're hurting about,
right.
If you start being appreciative of that hurt, you have to have time to go by and you need to heal. Yes, absolutely. But when you look back at it, if you can try and see the thing that you learned from it, or the lesson, the thing that you can grow from it, the thing that you can, protect yourself from in the future, or maybe it was an opportunity missed. Maybe you won't let that opportunity slip through your fingers next time something like that comes around, because, you need to be grateful for the fact that you had that first opportunity to learn from that.
Right.
That way next time you can do whatever that thing was.
Right.
Or learn from it.
Right. Run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the flow.
It's all about the flow. So, transitioning into EMP, you had that in your back pocket when you came to the desert, or back to the desert. And when did you start to really feel like you were moving back into that creative space of editing, of producing, of being in that creative space?
Well, I actually was struggling a lot with the idea of, should I just get a part-time job?
Oh, yeah.
How many times in your entrepreneurial experience or flow in life have you thought, if I just got a part-time job, it would hold me over and I'd be able to do, this, or but then deep in your soul you're like, I can't stand the idea of working for somebody else dictating my time, somebody else saying when I can or cannot take a day to be with my family.
Yeah. Right.
I struggle with that so much because I have had so many jobs throughout my life.
Right.
The entrepreneurial things that I mentioned before, whether it was teaching dance, music, DJing, and all that, in and out of all of those things, I've always had multiple types of job experiences because I wanted to dabble in all kinds of things. Whatever had any type of interest or tickled my fancy in any way, I was like, you know what? I was working for a civil engineer at a time for a while. That led me to know a lot of landscape architects, architect firms. So I started working for, different types of things that could utilize the CAD skills that I had developed. I got my real estate license in 2007.
Okay.
When I was 19, 2006, something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't. I have to do the math to remember exactly when.
Crashed after that.
Yeah. Oh, it was right at the crash, and it was a great time. Had I already previously had some real estate experience,
right?
Not necessarily for it straight out the gate. Had I had a couple of years of knowledge and known the benefits, not benefits, but the ways that one can profit and benefit in real estate during a crash, I'd have definitely stuck it out and continued with my license.
Yeah, because there's only one way. It's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
after you go down all the way. Yeah.
The down hurt a bit because I had just landed a full-time job in real estate at an Ashbrook community.
Oh, cool.
And
oh man, that's good experience. New construction, right?
Yeah.
You just shaking hands and selling stuff.
So I was working there as a temp for 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Leading up to them actually offering me the position, and then 2 weeks after they offered the position.
So working for free on top of working for free, with the goal of working for free.
I sold more houses when I was a temp than I did when I was fully employed.
I bet, because that's when your energy is so positive. People are like, you believe in this so strongly. You're like, I do. I'm not even getting paid for talking to you right now.
I just love the times. Yeah, and then 2 weeks after I officially got employed, the crash happened. And they're like, so we have to let 50 people from the companies go, and you just got employed. So it was last in, first out. And you're like,
you only have 40 employees. They're like, exactly. See you later.
This is how bad the crash is.
Right.
No, so I've, again, have had a wide spread of knowledge in lots of different jobs.
Right.
And having that be the main thing, having somebody else basically control a majority of time of your day, of your life, it has never sat well with me. And if I don't get to do the creative things and express that, I have a lot of difficulty with depression at different times. Throughout the life. So I
can relate.
Yeah. It's one of those things where
And it's more like just you realize when you get there that it's like it's a calling. It's a space that is there not to burden you with, not to drain you of your life and make your hand shake, but to it's just one there's a perfect piece out there that's meant to fill that space, and you really have to keep on struggling until you hit it, until you hit that mark, or you start to be able just to get a flavor like, oh my gosh, this made that little spot like kind of flutter. You feel that alignment. Well,
that space is something that I think it's now getting to the point where people are comfortable talking about it. Right?
Yeah. No, you couldn't used to talk about no.
Nobody would ever talk about their feelings.
No.
Like, that's not acceptable.
No.
Come on. You
Definitely
need to bottle
not.
that stuff up, bury it deep, and just like deal with it later. And there is a very big like stigma, especially if you're talking about like men and women as well. You know, like men are normally known to like compartmentalize and deal with things a lot differently than women do. But, you know, I have so many incredible, like, strong women, like, role models in my life, in my family, and in my friend circles that I had a very clean and good balance. And so, like, knowing that it is okay and majority of people go through different things in their lives and their circumstances and their experiences that will lead to depression.
Right.
When you like accept that and know that it's a part of having feelings, of being this emotional
Well, especially
creature.
in this society, you know, where we're so geared to look at who's on the latest pedestal.
Right.
And, you know, and I think that for me, it was more frequently found in my 20s than in my 30s. My 30s, I really started to figure out what I wanted in life, like you said, and like kind of honing in on that.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like as you grow, you sometimes sacrifice what you know you need to do, and that leads to that downfall again, or that familiar feeling of anxiety or depression, which, you know, I love the ability to talk about it and support other people out of it, but I do not like to sit and dial into that frequency and hone into you know, the whats and the whys and the whos and the whens. I think earlier in the podcast you touched on like apologizing to people and that like minimizing of my, as I clean up my side of the street, is huge. That going back and going, okay, hey, you know what, I wronged you in this way, or I've regret about this interaction with you. I could have done so much better, human to human, B to B, in this relationship, and it turning that displaced feeling into like, oh, okay, something's right in the world now.
Yeah,
and that's an important part of growth. I
think it's like a red flag. Like when you start feeling those feelings that you're like,
not
you're
a badge,
depression. You're
not
like,
a badge to wear, but like a red flag. Like, hey,
this is something that something's off. You need to like step back, take a little bit of time, look internally, figure out what's going on that's causing this depression. Like this is just a signal for something that's like actually an issue that's deeper that you need to kind of like get resolved. Right. But a lot of the time, like you just are like, I'm just sad. I don't know why. What am I going to do? Turn to the things that comfort me. Right. Whether it's, you know, food, whatever vices you might have, Netflix binge watching, that was one of mine. Okay. Like that was the massive coping mechanism as far as like if I wasn't feeling right, it was super easy to just completely get out of my own head and my own life or circumstance.
It's hard to be a content creator if you're just consuming other people's content.
It is. It's very hard. But at the same time, like when I'm consuming other people's content, I'm breaking it down. Yeah. I'm looking at it from a DP's perspective. Right. Like which type of focal lengths are they going for their lenses, and why are they choosing those types for this type of scene? Right. Okay, what type of practical lighting are they using in their scenes? What type of, you know, what do I think that, like, did they overdub the voice afterwards, or is this live audio from the record? Like, I'm constantly breaking down a lot of the things that I watch in order to gain more experience and learn from it, but at the same time, I would be doing that in order to not think about the stuff that was actually bothering me in my life. Yeah. You know, I would just throw myself into studying. And
ignoring things is not part of the law of attraction. That does not help. It doesn't work.
That does not help like that at all.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so
but I can relate.
Those types of depression has always been, you know, a struggle that you don't think of as a kid as like dealing with depression. You know, you're like unless you have a lot of trauma and like things to have sometimes when you're a kid and you're sad,
our parents put a lot of the baggage on us, you know, and they work really, really hard at like demanding our worldview shape to theirs because they feel theirs is the most tried and true.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily, the way it boils down. So, when you're kind of raising yourself at, whatever point you're at in your life, my best experience is to if I feel myself slipping into that space where I feel just space, I don't try to define it anymore. I try to find like those 3 good things that I can focus on as a positive point, and just look at those and rack them up and see if I can just let my heart kind of like marinate on that, and then I just feel already the power slips away from that thing that's disturbing me or leaving me off, and then I revisit it 2 or 3 days down the road and have a better perspective on it.
Yeah.
Well, what was the C3 alignment for you?
So, as far as like the branding of C3, I always thought that I basically come to this, it's not necessarily a life thesis, but I like to try and live my life according to 3 C's, and that's clarity, choice, and commitment.
Okay.
A lot of the times when you're presented struggles or obstacles to overcome, or just things that really like piss you off, like sometimes you have to take a second and step back, and if you have a choice in front of you, making a decision in the heat of a moment or in the excitement of a moment or whatever the case may be might not always be the best thing. You want to look at it from as many different angles as possible, analyze it, and from as many perspectives as you can in order to come to a good decision. So if you can seek clarity as far as the things that you want, the things that make you happy, your passions in life, what you want to do with your time, with your money, with your family, whatever.
Right.
If you seek clarity and you find it, the decisions that you make will be better for you versus just like automatically reacting to the things instantly right then in the moment.
Right.
So always try and seek clarity first, and then you have to make a choice. Like, you can choose to be happy, and I know that there are things like chemical imbalances in the brain that will literally force you to not be happy because off of serotonin levels and different things like that, but happiness could be a choice.
It is. 100%.
If somebody cuts you off on the freeway, you can choose to give them the finger, or you can choose to be empathetic. Maybe they're being an asshole and they're just like, that's it. But maybe they have to get somewhere in a hurry because they're like a working mom and like they need to get stuff done that specific time. They're running late because they had to take their kid. Like, you don't know what people are going through.
And it's nice that that's such a common theme today that we can see throughout social media, like that there is so much more empathy. And again, you control what's in your feed, so I don't know what's in everyone's feeds. But within my feed, I see so much positivity. I see a world that is shifting toward these coping mechanisms, toward tools, toward pulling yourself into a healthy place and then turning around and helping someone else behind you, whether it's through a positive word, a smile, whatever it may be, and just taking that moment and saying yes to happiness. In the why are you so happy? Your car just broke down. Well, because I choose to be, because I realized that maybe this is the moment I'm supposed to be in, and what if this is the very jumping point for the rest of my life? And that's a space that you can just pull yourself into, and you don't have to defend it to yourself or explain it to yourself or break it down. And those that I feel like those that are really trying to get somewhere will consistently relate to the content we create on this show, because you can't try to change your life or try to pull yourself into a different place and not experience resistance.
Right.
And the resistance is there. It feels like to stop you, but it's not. It's the resistance is there to help you grow.
Yeah.
And the sooner that you can zero in on that feeling that you've arrived and you are departing for that next space in the same moment, that's when things get real. That's when you're really in the creative flow.
Yep.
The artist has a vision, but it's not how it always comes out.
Right.
And
artists might have a vision, but until they choose to pick up a paintbrush,
right.
Like, they're never going to be able to create that
until
masterpiece.
Until they choose to turn off Netflix.
Truth.
Yeah.
Until you choose to pick up that camera and stop a Netflix binge, you're never going to create the next video.
Right.
You're never going to capture that next moment, that photo. It's like there are so many ways that choice, like, people won't make choices based off of fear. Or they will
And
make
that was
a
gonna-
different
that's
choice
the one
based off
word
of fear.
we haven't used so far is we haven't said fear. You know,
Yeah.
just and it holds so many people back. Just this
Huge
simple
motivator.
simple fear of like, oh, that's not me. I'm not. I don't do video, or
Yeah.
I don't do audio, or I don't do really anything but hide behind this position where I let everyone boss me around, and then I go home and wonder why things don't feel right.
It's the number one objection I get from clients when I talk to them about, things that they should be doing for their brands and how they should, if they are affiliated with them being a face of their brand, which for their personal brand,
Right.
they are, unless they're just a logo or an animation or whatever. But, if you're working
That'd be
with
cool.
personal brand, you are the face of your brand.
Right.
And if your face isn't in front of people, letting them know how good you are at the thing that you do, how are you going to expect how are you going to expect people to know about it and want to use your services
No, it's true.
or be your friend?
Or feel you.
Yeah.
Or feel you. You have to let people feel you, and I love the statement that you can't wait on anyone to give you permission to do you.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
doesn't matter how sensitive the individual is, just stepping out there and doing you, a little bit of you, and then letting the universe respond, or God respond, or people respond, or whatever it is that you consider your world, your influence, respond to you. That's that baby step, and you can't. The people use the analogy all the time of a child learning to walk. Like, you wouldn't get mad at a baby for not just knowing how to walk. It has to learn step by step, and it's really true as we develop at any stage in adulthood. There's no escaping that the beauty of the struggle,
Yeah.
and it's real. It's really, really real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you even know in like child development, when they talk about a kid walking before it's gone through the crawling process, it
That's
ends
important.
up having more difficulties with coordination later in life because they didn't develop the core muscles that they needed, that they would get through crawling in order to be able to walk and run and do a lot more coordinated things later in life.
Sorry, Starslate. Straight to walking.
Straight to the point.
Straight to walking.
Yeah. But again, going back to all these things are really rooted around choice. Like, you have so much power in your life. And I think it comes from a fear of not having control over my life. Like, the grand scheme of things,
That's
idea,
huge. Yeah.
like, for me, fate and destiny is difficult to accept as like something that I fully believe, because then I have no control over my life if that's the case. And I like to think that the things that I choose have, certain outcomes, or they matter.
Right.
You like to think that you have, what you do in your life is your own. It's what
They
you
do. It does matter, and I think that's one of the beauties is we have free choice.
Yeah.
We have an ability, but oftentimes, I also feel like you're born into your certain set of struggles and the solution you're meant to interlock with through life, and what works for for Kevin Francis is going to be different than works for Ceasare. Is going to be different than works for Michael Slate. Like, it's just the way that it rolls out.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of like finding your solution. I love friendship, but friends can let you down. I love the consistency of support groups, especially if you need them at a point in your life, whether it's a band you play music with, whether it's going to a church, whether it's a 12-step program. I think that anytime you can, again, interlock with others who are just living in the solution, or living their truth, or living in their creativity, or that, like, going to school can be very good for those reasons. Like, it just locks you around other people who are on the same journey.
Definitely.
And gives you that core, that's something in common. And I think a lot of times in our adult lives, like, once we're kicked out into life and we find ourselves there full throttle, some of us it's super young at like 16, 17, 18, but you're really not kind of finding yourself as an adult alone in the world until later in life. And I think that it's important to know it's okay to lock in and find yourself that group.
Yeah.
And it's not forever. Like,
Right.
nothing. It doesn't have to be your forever identity. It can be just your bridge to the next version of you.
Yeah. And whether you choose to like get to that next version of you, or you decide to stay the same you. Like, again, it all boils down to the choice that you have to make.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time hacking myself, a lot of time trying to hack what it is that gives me space to feel comfortable, what the relationships are that give me space to feel, at ease. Where do I get that sense of like awe and glory? And I think what's most important is time, and just allowing yourself that time to get there. Which is really hard to do, if you're in pain or you feel lonely or you feel disconnected. And my hope is that people start to move through those passages much quicker. The more we progress as a people, the more that people start to utilize, the device of our phone, that people are actually being able to connect in a deeper sense with others. And just ratify that process. That younger generations will not have to struggle in that sense.
Definitely.
They say the millennials are some of the most educated of all the generations of its kind, but they feel the most disempowered or most disconnected. And I think that something, if we have anything to offer the younger generations, it's that security of knowing, like, you're there, you have the knowledge, you have the power, you have the strength. Don't let other people's fears drive you back into your hole. It's time to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. So after clarity and choice, the final thing is commitment, because like it could be your time to shine.
That's true.
But then you can get to that moment.
That's true.
And new things that you encounter can dissuade you from that being your time to shine.
Maybe I'll do it later. Maybe I'll start that production company later.
Time to shine. Like, and it'll always present itself in a sense of like rationality. Like, well, maybe going for this was maybe you were stretching yourself a little too thin when you were reaching for that thing. Maybe you should just like get back into what, more realistic goals or things that you want to achieve, or, whatever the choices that whatever else you're choosing to work towards. It'll be disguised as, but that again, I think that's just fear talking. There are plenty of other people that have done the exact same thing that you want to do with less experience, with less circumstance in their favor, and have succeeded. So why wouldn't you be able to do that? For me right now, the big thing is wanting to move to Maui. And I'm in the mindset of I need to get my business set up out here. I need to get the team strong and like get the system in place, like continue to work and grow and blah, blah, blah. And that's a big thing that like makes me want to like hold back and stay. But then I also think to myself, like, how many people have just like thrown their cares away and just often moved to Hawaii just because of it, and have lived their like super happy lives? A lot. You know, and they've done it with like people.
There's always a risk. You don't know. I mean, you don't know.
There's
until
always
you
the risk.
Choose, and you can't ever know how the other path would have gone.
But if you stay committed to your path, if you like use that, you find the clarity, make the choice, and then you commit to it. And if it's a long-term thing, like stick it out for the long term. Now, there's not saying that you can't go back and go through this process again if the situation that you find yourself in isn't what you were expecting.
I'm committed to, and I know this about myself, to dusting myself off no matter what. No matter how I feel like the public's going to view me, I'm going to view myself. I'm committed to always dusting myself off, no matter the scope of my failure, the scope of my mishap, the scope of my miss. Like, I'm committed, and that took a lot of time, because there's a lot of time in my life where I just wanted to give up. Is there a space in your business building that you kind of locked into that commitment to your path? I mean, because it seems like it's been very consistent over the past 3 years since I've known you. Give or take up and down in business and all that good stuff. Like, where did your commitment, like, to you fall into place?
For me, I think it was, there have been multiple times where I said, I'm never going to work for somebody else again. I'm always going to be the person who says yes or no to jobs, that, has the power or the control over my own time, my own, finances, things like that. So when I decided that that was going to be a thing, like I've made the commitment and kind of like fallen off of it, but I guess it took proof of concept, as well as having the right circle of people around me. Once your own fears are gonna always like be there, like it's. I don't think it's possible for them to ever really like be fully silenced. You can do things that you can like, in order to like help build your confidence, and you can do things to like get you in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be something.
Your demons always invite friends.
Yeah, you can't run away from those.
Yeah.
Like no matter where you go, what you do, they're internal. They go with you.
Right.
That baggage you have to deal with in whatever way you deem best. But with those fears, I didn't want to necessarily. I was always afraid that I was going to end up in some job for 20, 30 years. Just miserable. Like that fear.
I used to pray. Like I used
motivator.
to pray as a kid. I would just pray, like, please God, don't let me die having lived some ordinary life. And I have had multiple lives lived within my one lifetime where you look back and be like, that 5-year block could have been the span of 40 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it was just a 3 to 5 year block of time. And I'm so grateful every time I lock into the next chapter, to where it keeps me more fluid, to where I'm not like, I'm going to be a real estate agent forever. Like I see other chapters opening up for myself. I desire other experiences for career, for that road experience. If this is what I get, if this is my experience, I'll always be grateful for it. But you just kind of have that knowing inside that keeps you going.
Yeah. So when I finally was like committed to, like, really, I'm not going to work for anybody else again. Like, I've done it. I've said I wasn't going to, and I've gone back to doing it because it was an easy thing when I was moving to get a job, and it made sense.
Right.
Like,
it doesn't last long.
Well, and if you think about it, people that like actually make crazy leaps and bounds in careers and in their lives, like, they're not doing things that make sense.
No.
They are pushing limits, breaking boundaries, trying new things. They're getting like if something doesn't go well, you have to be okay with the fact that if something doesn't go well and you share that information with people on the internet, like, you're going to get judged for it.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You have to not care what other people think.
Yeah.
And you have to remember to stay true to what it is that you're trying to do. You got to stay committed.
Right.
So for me, once I became a lot more committed was when it was no longer about just me.
Right.
Because I'll be fine and I will do enough work to get by. Like, I have a very minimalist mindset. I don't want for a lot of things, like, in life. I don't go for big social flashy, like, I don't spend a lot of money on clothes. Like, I'm very frugal. The money that I make, if it isn't reinvested into my business, it's covering just like life expenses, food, the basics, just to get by. That has allowed me to go on and build and like continually buy new equipment and get better gear and get better training. And
should we check the equipment?
I think we're good. Yeah.
You're good? All right.
Time-wise. But that has enabled me to be frugal and like get a lot of, new gear for podcasts, for lighting, for video, for photo, whatever the case may be. But, when I decided and committed to making it no longer about me, but incorporating more people onto the team, just my level of like focus and dedication went through the roof. Because I've always been somebody being in service-based things. Entertainment is very much service. You're sitting there spending years and years getting good enough to be able to perform for people's entertainment. And you
like
might
working
just be
with children, you kind of have to push back on their expectations and what you need to. You play such and such song. You're like, I need you to sit down, sir. I've got a set list, but play it anyway.
Yeah. You have to know how to deal with all kinds of people.
Yeah.
But being able to like have all of that go into, somebody might listen to you for 2 or 3 minutes when they're at a restaurant or wherever you're performing or whatever in a live music circumstance, and you're just background noise to them.
Right. That's not that front man you wanted to be.
That's not that front man you wanted to be.
That's not that spotlight. You're like, okay, can I get a little light over here?
But being appreciating those types of gigs, because the people who do
Right.
sit down and are like super into it and it's like this intimate thing, you develop a totally different type of appreciation.
Yeah.
But again, getting back to like the whole commitment, once the team started growing and I realized that my efforts were helping, pay other people's bills, or were
Yes.
helping like friends in, that were going through rough times, like I was able to help like provide, some gigs and some work for other people and do these things like that. All of a sudden my effort, my dedication, like
Right.
my hustle just got amplified. I've always been one to want to do more for others, and it's very contradicting to like being out in front and the front man and like the entertainer and the all eyes on this person, but then at the same time I love being behind the camera,
Right.
and I like making other people shine.
Yeah, and you're
You
good
know?
at that. And I know you do like that.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of fun being able to like look at something and see somebody else get really stoked about seeing themselves.
Right.
That's a really good feeling. And so like always trying to put other people's, I was always my mom's little helper. Like from a little kid, she brought me up to always like want to be extremely helpful. I definitely got to give my mom praise on that point, because it stuck with me my whole life, and it's been able to foster a different type of relationship with with a very close, cool circle of people and friends.
Yeah.
Because I naturally find that in other people.
Right.
And when multiple people like that are together, like you just draw out the best in each other, which
Right.
is really, really good. But yeah, those are the 3 C's that I tend to live life by: clarity, choice, and commitment. And if you can incorporate that into life decisions, when you're basically trying to figure out things in life, it helps a lot. But I mean, it helps. It literally will get you through pretty much any struggle that you could be dealing with, I think.
I feel you on that one. And it takes time to assimilate that perspective. I remember when I just started breaking down walls within myself, walls that were kind of like built brick by brick by parents or by people, within the constructs of just my immediate life. Mm-hmm. And I think like the power of now, or read that when I was really young, when I was like 21, and it was such a relief. Like it cut a load off of me. Mm-hmm. Immediately, and helped me start to really realize there is something about being able to access the peace that's readily available to us in our current setting, in our current moment, in our current struggle, in our current victory. One of the questions I wrote down, just kind of like putting intent into the show, was how do you deal with when you have like that high flying feeling of like a success or like a win? You just got a big job, or you just edited a sick video and you just got that check, and it's met with this kind of like gut punch from a lower vibration in the same, like, where you're just like, oh, do you allow that to teach you like, oh, I shouldn't feel that high because it's going to be met with a low, or do you just go, okay, you appreciate the high for what it is, mm-hmm. like a place that you would like more of, and this, like, analyze where did this come from?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
But I'm a big believer in that you should live in the moment, and if you're experiencing this high moment in life where you have this big gig that goes through, and or you're really stoked on this video, whatever the case may be, that you do need to like take the time in that moment and appreciate it and absorb it, and give yourself the opportunity to process that feeling and like all of the feelings that coincide. Because
the goal is to create more of that.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
to feel guilty for it, or that it shouldn't exist.
But as an artist or performer, you're always going to be your worst critic. So even when you see a client super stoked on a video and you work on it a lot and you get it dialed into exactly what they want it to be, and like you send that, they're pleased, they send you the check, whatever the case is, there's still like a part of the brain that's going to be like, well, if I only had this gear or this lens,
definitely.
Or whatever, like I know it could have been so much better if. You know, there's always going to be that little thing where you're hopefully trying to constantly grow and improve, and you see the shortcomings, but it's good to know that they're there, because that gives you focus on things that you can work on to better and to improve yourself.
Right.
But it's not good to dwell on them. You know, you do need to see the things that other people see that are the good in you.
Right.
And you need to take them to heart. You need to, one, believe them.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I have struggled with and have had difficulty becoming comfortable with accepting is compliments.
Right. Okay. That's fair.
So performing,
I think that might have that. Do you think that's personality or
it's probably personality based, but as artists in general, you know, being extremely hard on ourselves, always, you know, striving for perfection in those things that we do, a lot of the times, if people aren't extremely humble when people come up and praise them, like after a show, you're intermingling with the crowd or whatever, and people are talking to you, they're saying how great you did. If people are saying, you know, they're praising you and appreciating you over and over and over again, it's not that you get numb to it, but there's that little dark voice that is like, are they just being polite?
Yeah.
You know,
those bitches don't know what they're talking about.
There's that little dark voice that is like,
you're failing horribly.
They don't necessarily know what they're talking about.
Right.
They're not trained ears. They didn't hear this mistake. They didn't, you know. So it discredits their appreciation.
Right. Which is power that should be harnessed.
Yeah, but how dare you? Like, how dare I discredit somebody's appreciation when they say that they thought I did a wonderful job? Like, for me, so humility is huge.
Right.
Humility is huge. It's very, very important to me. And, like, I never want people to think that I'm, like, super braggadocious when I, like, say things that I have done or the things that I'm capable of doing, the different skill sets that I have and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, braggadocious.
Braggadocious. Expialidocious.
Yeah. So humility is extremely important to me, and what I kind of realized was my own fears and insecurities about myself, whether it was appearance or performance capability, like my voice, my guitar playing, my dancing whatever it was that was on display, that fear and insecurity wouldn't necessarily believe the people when they would appreciate, congratulate, you know, whatever thank yous that they were giving. It wouldn't allow my subconscious to believe that what they were saying was true. While I appreciated it, I accepted their praise. I said thank you so much, you know, because again, I'm trying to be a humble person.
Dismissing.
In the back of my brain, I'm not letting it sink in and believing it myself. Right. So a big struggle for me was like coming to terms with that, like actually accepting it. Right. And instead of going, oh no, thank you so much, that's too kind. Like, instead of dismissing their appreciation, I just started like maintaining eye contact and thanking people.
That's the huge thing. That's a real big hack I've been using lately is like, thank you so much for letting me say hello. Like, thank you so much when I stop to praise someone or acknowledge something, or like there's something or someone I just want to get inside that craw. I want to get a feel for them. Yeah. Like I'll interrupt a moment and we'll have like this great interchange, and I'll thank them. I'll thank them. Or when people, you know, stop me and say, hey, I know you from this or know you from that. It's important for me to not dismiss it, but to just honor that power and that praise and just go, thank you so much for taking the time. And it just levels the playing field and makes you both equals in that moment. And rather than this kind of like the ego doesn't know how to absorb it, the ego can deflect. You know, the ego can be involved in the deflection just as it can in the overinflation. Yeah, you know, absolutely. My life's been a series of trips in the past 6 weeks, and I'm like, it's exactly what I want. Yeah. But in the back of my head, there's this twinge of guilt, like I'm not working hard enough, but I'm working on the go. And it's just like I have to dismiss that feeling immediately. I've got one more trip coming up. Good. So yeah. I leave on Wednesday. So like, see ya.
Where are you going this time?
I'm going to San Francisco.
Nice. That's right.
Yeah. Back on Saturday. So
that'd be good.
Yeah, it will be good. It'll be great. And then we can do another one of these shows. Yeah. So yeah. That'd be good.
Who are you thinking of having on next?
I want to have on Mark from my website developer and social media coordinator, producer. I haven't worked out a formal title for him. I'm sure it's on his website. He's been working on my logo development, developing my website, taking over a lot of aspects of my social media, and just help me get to a place where I'm posting consistently. So if I'm not flying high and you know, like grabbing onto those feelings. Like I don't just slip into non-existence where the marketplace doesn't hear from me for a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
like that's super important.
Yeah.
So
when you maintain and establish an online presence, it's important to maintain your established online presence.
yeah, and that's the thing. That's part of like, what, the struggle has been really, really real for me is like you get this momentum with social media and then you get results from it. So you get busy with your business, and then your business, is not just always going to be like skating around, high flying feeling. You're going to hit turns in business that are actually complicated or complex with people, personalities, the way that life kind of works out. And for me, like I oftentimes during those real struggles, I don't want to post. I don't feel it, but I should be posting. And it's just nice to have support. And it's, again, I had to reach out and ask for that support at someone's suggestion. They're like, well, why don't you just hire someone to help you with this? And like, no, it has to be me. No, it doesn't. It is me. Mm-hmm. But it's me asking for help.
Yeah.
It'd be like me still trying to do, all my paperwork on 57 transactions. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, people deserve that relief. So Mark's going to come on and just chat with us, tell us his story, chat with me. I don't know. You'll be here.
I'll be here. I'll be behind the scenes at that point.
Which is your favorite spot?
It's one of them.
It's one of them.
Yeah. I like being on camera. It's fun. Yeah. It doesn't happen as often anymore now. It's definitely way more the flip side. I'm definitely behind the camera more than on it. But I have some things in the plans and in the works as far as to get me more in front of camera and doing some more stuff for EMP. Now that this is all set up and I have a set and some sound treatment and
you need
stuff
to.
Going.
When we were cranking out so much content, I was like, how about you put yourself on? And you're like, how about I not? I'm busy. Let's post you.
How about I need to go back and edit all of your videos?
Edit my face off.
Let alone
and you
have time to put my own stuff out.
Yeah,
but no, that stuff is in the works and will be coming soon. But
cool.
Next show I'll be behind the scenes. I'll be running everything from the other side, and we'll have to get out of frame in order to like check the cameras and make sure they're still recording.
I think it's beautiful. I don't think it matters. It's a podcast. It's a live. It's a not live stream. So,
worst case scenario, we can just strip the audio and just do a podcast and not do any video.
Yeah.
We won't actually though.
That's not what I want to do. I want to be on camera. Yeah. As much as possible.
Yeah. That way people can see your injuries that you sustain. Yeah,
this is not a tattoo. I would not wear this as a tattoo cover. I crashed a scooter while I was in Bali.
One of your Bali adventures.
I got it out of the way immediately. It was the first day there, and then after that, it was like, okay, like all the trauma and drama is done for this trip, and I just need to just kick back and enjoy it. Yeah. Jet lagged and scooter crashed, and it was good. So no, but I'm maintained. I had fun. So
good. Well,
I still explored and didn't let it limit me too much. So yeah, it was nice. Yeah.
You definitely will have to survive San Francisco. That way we can do the next podcast.
Yeah, hopefully in San Francisco, no trolley accidents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be safe.
I don't get hit by a Mini Cooper. We'll be all right. So. Yeah. No, but next week we'll have Mark on from Frog Frenchie. They're incredible. They're based in Palm Springs. Their office is in Palm Springs, and I'm excited. It should be cool.
Yeah, it'll be a really good discussion.
Yeah, it'll be chill. And Mark's got a great personality on him, has no problem talking, which is key to a podcast. You can't, if you're like, I don't know what to say, then that's going to be rough. I'm going to be talking a lot, trying to pull questions out of you. Be a yes and no.
That's funny.
And no. Yeah.
It's great though.
Which I can do.
Yeah.
I can ask questions all day long.
We have such a good flow because we've talked out so many different types of things now that it's like we're both hosting.
Well, that's what I'm so excited about is that just like one creative like concept like this and the consistency of us touching base on it, like, yo, you told me you'd get a show date and a guest, and be like, oh shoot, I forgot, like will lead to us like probably creating a few more projects. Plus I've got some listings coming up that are gonna need. You're like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever.
Well, I mean, if depending on the different guests and stuff, it might make sense to have a third mic set up and like do a dual hosting circumstance, because we know where we're going with a lot of the flow and the questions, and it would just be fun because then I can get my on camera time too. Get my practice. Get my practice down.
Yeah.
Well, do you wanna wrap it up? Thank everybody for tuning in, and should I do it? Do you? Again, we're figuring out the flow of how this is all going on the fly. So
I think that's fair to say. We could wrap it up. Do you feel like we've covered how the struggle is really, really, really real for you?
Oh, I mean, it's always continually going for me. So
yeah.
You know,
as is life. Yeah.
I'm sure there will be more things that, as you know, we do more and more of these shows together with other people, we'll each have more thoughts on new things that are brought up that we've gone through, that, you know, because all of life is just learning and growing from the stuff that you're
essentially my intention
to.
For the show would be to put on other local people that are busting their ass and making changes in their world and in other people's universe, and to give a listening audience, even if they just listen to the show for 1 minute, even if they just see it as they fly by on Facebook, that twinge of like knowing that someone is out there like putting out a vibration of wanting to help others, of wanting to be supportive to the community, of wanting to help others, you know, actuate on their dreams and their reality, you know. And it's just key, because I know the relief that growth has brought me. You know, and I want to see that for other people, and they need it. You know, we can be the change that the universe needs.
Definitely.
Just by being us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Right on.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And did you have one more?
No, life's meant to be lived with joy.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on the show. This has been the first episode of the Struggle is Really, Really Real podcast, and we're out. Yeah. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. It's going to be on all platforms: Facebook, probably YouTube. Definitely YouTube. Maybe snippets on Instagram, and then we're also going to be uploading to the podcast streaming services, so Apple Podcasts, or if you listen on Android, we'll be on there. Cool. So be sure to comment and rate the podcast as well, because that's going to end up helping a lot as far as ratings go. And we'll hear and see you guys all in the next one. Amen. All right. Cool. See you later. See ya. Bye.